Today we're joined by Kevin Doyle, a highly respected actor whose work spans television, theatre and film. Kevin has delivered unforgettable performances in productions such as Downton Abbey, Happy Valley and Sherwood, plus stage roles across the UK. And he recently returned to work with Sally Wainwright on gripping new series Riot Women. Originally from Scunthorpe, Lincolnshire, Kevin has built a career combining emotional depth, authenticity and versatility, bringing characters vividly to life on stage and screen. His performances have been widely recognised, earning nominations and acclaim for his ability to inhabit complex roles with a nuance and integrity. Today, we'll explore Kevin's journey from Lincolnshire to the national and international stage, his approach to character and craft, and how his roots continue to influence his work. Please welcome Kevin Doyle to Location Links Loud. Well, thank you, Kevin Doyle, for joining us on Location Links Loud, which we're super excited to have you here. Kevin, for those who might not know much about you, what first drew you to acting and started you off?
I think when you're a certain age, sort of 16, 17, 18, I think the friends who you're surrounded by are really important. And my friends were keen on drama and I don't think they were thinking about it as a future at all. And I certainly wasn't. But they would do plays, youth theatre and things like that. And here at John Leggett Sixth Form College, we did plays and so I kind of got a little bit interested, they kind of dragged me along. And then I started to enjoy it, and I found that people were enjoying what I was doing, and I didn't have any idea about what I was going to be doing, when I left here. And so I followed on the coattails of friends. So they started to apply for drama schools, and I thought, oh well, I'll give it a shot. And I'd been encouraged by teachers who thought I was, showed promise. But I was completely naive as to what that possible future held. I didn't have a clue. None of my family were involved in the arts or entertainment or anything like that, and so. I went into it completely blind, and so I auditioning for drama schools is really expensive, and living in the north of England, and most of the drama schools are in the south, that became important, just in terms of being able to afford those journeys and being able to sort of audition, pay for those, and so I knew I only had maybe one or two cracks at it, and I was really lucky. I applied to one drama school and I got in, and if I hadn't have got in, I've no idea. It still amazes me, actually. I've no idea how my life would have turned out. But over the course of a couple of days, when I was 18, my life completely changed. And that's why when I come back here to talk to students, I say it's all right if you don't know what you want to do yet, because there are so many sort of twists and turns that are going to happen in your life, and a lot of them are out of your control. And as I say, I went into the following year. I went to drama school, and I didn't know what to expect. I was in a new city. Away from home for the first time.
Take me back to which drama school was it?
It was Guildhall School of Music and Drama in the City of London.
So going from Scunthorpe to London.
Yeah, that was terrifying, absolutely terrifying. I remember the first night, my mum came down with me, and she dropped me off at my digs, and I just cried when she left. I've never been alone before, and I remember it profoundly. I think I've no idea what tomorrow is going to hold. I didn't know what to expect. I'd been sent a list of things to buy, like sort of tap shoes and dance clothes, and I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know where do I get these things from? Why do I need these things? And I turned up expecting it to be like a university. You know, I thought I'd be, you know, writing essays and things like that. I had no idea. And of course, I didn't write a word in 3 years. So it was a remarkable journey of mystery, really. And I thank this place, and I thank my friends at the time who kind of were able to sort of steer me in that direction.
So you spent 3 years at Guildhall.
Yeah.
Can you describe what it felt like taking the first step out of Guildhall into professional acting, and what kept you going through those early years?
Well, it's a terrifying prospect. Again, you're leaving somewhere which is a controlled environment where you know that what you're going to be doing from 10 a.m. to 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So, you know, full of classes and rehearsals and things. And then suddenly you're out in the world, and you're very aware of how many other people have been thrown out into the world with you. You know, there are hundreds and hundreds of fantastic young actors who graduate at the same time as you. And so you're aware of the competition, and you're aware of the need for help, support. And so I was lucky to get an agent in the last few weeks of being at Guildhall.
Did you do a showcase?
Yeah, and you know, that was terrifying. So you're doing a couple of audition pieces in front of, you know, an audience full of cast and directors and agents, and again, no idea what is going to result from that. You just try your best. And I was lucky in that somebody tapped me on my shoulder and afterwards and said, you know, perhaps you could get in touch. And that was great. So you had so when you left, it wasn't as terrifying as it could be because you knew that somebody was on your side. And so
Who was that agent?
Oh gosh, they were called Duncan Heath, who've now become part of ICM and, you know, swallowed up by other
the bigger
companies. And so, you know, you had somebody who was there to help you and guide you, and that's so important because, you know, despite 3 years at drama school, you're still so naive. You have no idea how to get started in the business, and you don't know anybody. And you're so reliant on other people. And so I managed to get my first job in the theatre a few weeks later, and kind of took it from there.
And you've had an incredible range of roles in TV and theatre and film. And are there any particular projects that stand out as turning points in your career?
There are several, actually. The first 15 years or so of my professional life was all in the theatre, and I think I got into the Royal Shakespeare Company when I was in my mid-20s, and that was an enormous turning point. So I spent 7 or 8 years there, on and off. Doing mostly Shakespeare and you know, continual employment, which was just fantastic. And what becomes apparent as you progress in your career is how important networking is. And you know, you're working with different directors all the time, and hopefully, if you get on with them and they like what you do, they re-employ you, and that becomes such an important factor in establishing yourself as a creative. You know, you have to build a network of people, and so continual employment for a while gave me confidence, and then somebody somebody took a chance on me. A TV director took a chance on me. He needed some unknown actors, and despite the fact that I'd been at the RSC for quite a long time, you know, I was unknown to a large proportion of the industry, and certainly to the general public. And so this director needed an unknown actor, and he cast me in a thing called The Lakes. And that was my first sort of good TV role. And so that began to establish me in that world as well. And again, you know, on the back of that, you sort of start to establish a network of people in that world. Mm-hmm. So it's about sort of, you know, moving from world to world and getting to know people and hopefully them re-employing you.
Before we move on to your TV, I'd like to talk about how the RSC works as an establishment. And you're in rep at RSC, is that right?
So you would be doing sort of 3 or 4 plays.
So as an actor, I've always been fascinated. Like, if you're doing 3 or 4 plays at the same time, that's a lot to keep in. And how do you manage remembering your lines, even just like, which play are we doing today? Because you're on the machine, and I suppose in a bubble with those actors, because you're with the same actors doing this different shows. Yeah, it sounds like such a unique experience.
It is. I mean, I always say, you know, learning the lines is the easy bit. It's making them believable, which is a little harder. It was great. It kind of really sort of disciplined you as an actor. You sort of so there is all of that sort of the technical side of it, sort of, you know, remembering the lines over, you know, you'd be doing these plays for maybe a couple of years, and so it was, and over that period as well, you'd be aware that your performance was evolving, and that was a great learning point. So when you're a young actor, you kind of think, oh, I fixed my performance and it's going to be like this, and that's what I'm going to do, and that's fine for a while. But then you're exposed to older, more experienced actors, better actors, and you see what's possible. You know, you see how performances can evolve over a long time, and you know, playing with each other. And that was a real eye-opener. So I just used to sort of stand in the wings and watch extraordinary actors being humble enough to realize that they didn't know it all, and they could learn off each other, and they could play with each other, and it was wonderful, actually. And so I'm aware now that in rehearsals and in early performances, just how much, over a relatively short amount of time in front of an audience, how much your performance is going to change, and you're going to adapt it. You're going to learn how audiences react to your performance, you know, when they laugh or when they don't, and you learn so much from interacting with them. And I still kind of, you know, even when a performance is finished, when a run is done, I still kind of think, oh, why didn't I do that line like that? And I'm still, you know, even now, I did a play last year in the West End, and even now I'm thinking, oh, I could have done it like that, and which is great.
Let's hope they do a second run then. And
yeah. But it means that you're always thinking, you're always kind of trying to figure out little problems, and oh, I could have done it like that. I could have got a better laugh.
Is there any particular actor or director while you were at RSC that you learnt a lot from?
So many. The boss at the time was a director called Adrian Noble, who I think I regard as probably the best director of theatre. Extraordinary man, an extraordinary teacher, and the actors were there were hundreds and hundreds of them. Anton Lesser springs to mind, and Robert Stevens, and just so many. So many. It was an absolute blessing being there.
And were you living and breathing in Stratford then as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a strange world, Stratford, or it was at that time. It's different now. They're shorter runs, but you'd be there for a year, and as you said, you'd be working with the same people, and it's sort of it's quite a closed world, and so you don't think about anything but performing, and the audiences come to you, and so when you make the transition to London and you take the plays down there, suddenly you're aware of, oh, the audiences could go to other places as well.
You've got the competition
you're
now.
aware of the competition, and so yeah. So it's but it's I mean, I would recommend it to any actor. It's an absolute blessing of a place to be.
So starting in RSC, did you stay in theatre but move down to London after that, or what happened next?
Yes. So I was at the RSC for quite a long time, so it was 7 or 8 years, and I was living in London by then, and after drama school, so I'd stayed down there. And it's a shame, but you kind of have to be in one of the big cities for a while as you're a young creative, just because you need to establish yourself. And it is difficult being in other parts of the country. I mean, maybe we can talk about that, but it's just sort of an extra hurdle to get over if you aren't based there. But
certainly in theatre, I think that's the only place, isn't it, for the premium theatre?
Yeah. I mean, it's a small country. This, you can get to places easily enough, on the train and everything. But and I don't live in London now. I live up north, so you can get to places.
Yeah. So Downton Abbey, it was a global phenomenon, and what was it like joining that world and bringing your character to life in such a beloved ensemble, shall we say?
Well, it was a nuisance, actually, to start off with, because I was busy doing a play at the National Theatre, and we were just about to open, and my agent rang and said, "Oh, there's this thing called something Abbey, maybe 1 or 2 episodes. Would you like to go in for it?" And I'm about to, my head's on this play, and he says, "Go on, it'd be a bit of money." So I managed to sort of wangle a couple of hours off rehearsals, and I went in, and and I was sat in a room with 3 or 4 other blokes, and I looked at them. I thought, oh, well, he's perfect for this part, absolutely perfect. So that sort of took the pressure off. So I went in, not expecting anything at all, and there were no expectations about that show at all, really. Nobody imagined its success, not even the producers. I think they hoped for 2 or 3 series, but we had a good cast, but there was no expectations at all. So we didn't realize that we were joining anything special, that we were just doing another job. And then the world decided that wasn't going to be the case.
Yeah. I think showing it in the States is, it became...
Showing it in the States was massive.
Yeah.
We'd done the first series. The first series was going out, and we were getting emails from the executive producer, and he was saying, "This is extraordinary," because normally after the first episode is screened, numbers begin to sort of drop a little bit. But in Downton's case, it was the reverse. Numbers were going up every week, and that was not unprecedented, but
hadn't been seen for a while.
Uncommon.
Yeah.
And so we kind of knew that we were at least going to get another series out of it, and so that was great. And that's all everybody was thinking about. They were just thinking about the next year, really. And then, as you say, the Americans got hold of it as we were beginning to film season 2, and then everything changed. And yeah, we were being invited out to America and to do press for that, and none of us could quite believe the impact it was having over there. We were going to places like the White House and Congress and the British Embassy, and people, senators were sort of fighting their way to get to us. It was just ridiculous. And so that was the moment that we realized the impact it was beginning to have. And we had to be very careful because that aspect of the success of the show could have an impact on the show if we weren't very careful. You could be seduced by sort of the glamour and all of that, and we had to just sort of keep focused on what we were doing. And fortunately, we had some very good producers who were able to kind of keep us in line, because it was very easy to sort of be distracted and sort of be invited out to all kinds of different places. They kept us on the straight and narrow.
Oh, I think there was just listening to you talk and thinking about, I can distinctly remember the first episode. So having an American wife and the first episode touching on the Titanic, I think it's probably just a really good first episode hook to get people, it's not just quintessentially British, even though it absolutely was. There was a relationship with the States in it as well. So I think, and that continued through, and then obviously Gilded Age.
And that was based on a true story. A lot of young, very, very wealthy American women were coming over and marrying into the British establishment.
They've actually, there's a series on Apple that actually, is it The Buccaneers, that literally touches on that, which is the women coming over.
Right, yeah. So everybody was winning. So the American women were getting their titles, and the British families were getting money.
The money that
because all those places were falling apart.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely hit a zeitgeist, and what an incredible journey to then be part of.
Yeah, it was. But by the end of the TV series, we were content that it was finishing. We felt that we'd done everything that we could, really, and as Maggie Smith said rather famously, if she was to carry on to a 7th series, her character would be in her hundreds, so it was impossible. We all decided to sort of knock it on the head after series 6, and we thought that was the end of it. And then the producer said, there's a chance, maybe in the future at some point that we'd like to make a film of it. And we'll see what happens. And then eventually the script started to arrive, and so every 3 years we'd done a film. So that's been lovely.
Yeah, it's been as a viewer an incredible series to follow. Happy Valley.
Yeah.
Very, very different in tone, should we say, and certainly intensity. How did you approach working on a gritty contemporary drama compared to a period piece?
Well, funnily enough, we finished filming the last series of Downton on the Friday, and I started Happy Valley on the following Monday. So the contrast couldn't have been any greater. It was fantastic. I'd worked with Sally Wainwright before, so and the producers I knew. I knew her as a writer and a director, and I trusted her. It was an easy transition, actually. I'd prior to doing something like Downton, I'd become quite well known on TV for playing quite dark characters, and so the step over to Downton was quite a transition for me, sort of playing comedy on screen. And so I was actually very comfortable playing those kind of darker characters. And so it was an absolute blessing to be able to sort of, move to something completely different. And I was living at home as well. So, it was filmed 5 minutes away from where I live.
I'll take that job, thank you.
Yes. So I was able to sort of walk down the hill to work.
Oh, lovely.
It was brilliant. I always love working with Sally, and
another one that captured the nation's attention in
yeah,
a very different way.
yeah. And I was really aware that the first series had been so successful, and I was really aware that, there's quite a responsibility not to sort of drop the ball. Um, and I knew what a brilliant part it was, and I just didn't want to screw it up. And but you can see when you read the Sally's script, it's a bit like sort of when you work on a Jimmy McGovern script. You can kind of see what it's going to look like. You just don't have to. Your job is just not to get in the way of it. Really, don't come up with any stupid ideas because it's all there. It's a bit like Shakespeare. You can kind of see it there. If you're attuned to the language, if you're that's what great writing can do. It can kind of offer you everything. You can come up with new ideas about it, and Sally is great at sort of embracing ideas. But it's all there for you. You just have to sort of serve the script.
And you've recently worked with her again. With Riot Women.
Yeah.
How does it feel to collaborate consistently with a director over your career?
It's lovely. Well, she wasn't a director to start off with. It's an interesting path for her, actually. I first started working with her as a writer on a thing called At Home with the Braithwaites. So we did 4 series of that. And she was very much in the background for that. And we would very occasionally see her at table reads and things like that, but not very often. And again with Scott and Bailey, which I did for ITV, she was still in the background, but she was kind of clearly not content with being in the background. She needed a bit more. I think she probably felt that she needed more control of the output.
Rather than handing it over to somebody else, she wanted her vision to be seen through.
I suppose she must have felt that it was being compromised in some way. So she started to take the reins, and I'm not sure that she's a natural director. That's why I think she likes to re-employ her company of actors, really, because she trusts them, but she doesn't really quite understand the craft of acting, I don't think.
Okay.
She understands what she wants. She can say very clearly, oh, a line should be said like this, or a line should be said like that. But she doesn't really understand what actors require. And so it's a learning curve for her as well. But she decided that she wanted to take more control. And so since Happy Valley, and she's occasionally let other directors sort of come in and do a couple of episodes. But
that's probably just for sheer amount of work to do.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. But you can kind of see her sort of, she's desperate. Even when other directors are running the show, she's always there, just sort of in the background. But I mean, I love her dearly.
How different was it on Riot Women? Because obviously that would have been a very different role again.
Yeah, well, she just got in touch and said, look, I've written this small scene. Would you and my partner played my wife in it? And so it was kind of, we came as a couple, really. And so she said, would you like to do it? And I jumped at the chance. I think we're going to be involved in the next one as well. So,
were there any specific roles that felt like a breakthrough moment where doors opened professionally?
Oh, it has to be Downton. Yeah, certainly. I think it probably gets you through the door to a meeting. I mean, that's all they can do, really. It gets you through the door. The rest you have to kind of do yourself. I would say that. I've never had any great desire to sort of, go to America and work. So I suppose that was a possibility, but it wasn't something that I entertained, really. I was very happy sort of staying on this side of the pond.
And there's been awards over the years.
Yeah.
How important are sort of awards and nominations? Do they shape your perspective of your work?
No. As I say, you know, I've won awards for Happy Valley and for Downton and for stuff with Jimmy McGovern. And as I say, you kind of, it's all there on the page. You just got to serve it. And so I think certainly for something like Happy Valley, there are any number of actors who could have played that part and done it just as well. It just happened that they would have brought something different to it. You know, as we all do, we all have our life experiences that we bring to a part, and but it wouldn't have been any less. It might have been better. You never know. But yeah, I'm aware that I'm just aware that the actor's first job is to serve the writing. And that's all I care about, really. And that's what, when I come back here to talk to students, that's what I kind of try to impress on them. It's all about sort of serving the writing. It's not about.
I think that comes to my next question, which is, I always feel that acting, when it's authentic, is at its best. It's like acting is about authenticity to that character. How do you approach preparing for a role, whether it's stage or screen? Are you a preparer, or are you someone who can turn up with the script and?
No, I have to. No, I mean, as I've gotten older, I read it a lot. I read the script a lot, no matter whether it's a stage play or a script or a screen script. I just read it a lot. I remember something that Anthony Hopkins said, that he learns his lines so well that he can kind of just sort of say them again and again and again and again and again. So it's kind of completely embedded. And so he doesn't have to worry about sort of remembering lines. They just come automatically. And so that I've realized that's a great thing to have, actually. So when I have a stage play to do, I learn it before we start rehearsals, because it just sort of, having to sort of, younger the script in your hand, you can sort of play with one another from the off. And
is that usual for people, or is that?
I think it's usual. You see it quite commonly with older actors, because they realise that, well, my memory isn't as great as it was, and so anything that can help me. Yeah, and I don't want to be going home at night time and learning lines, because I'd rather be sort of thinking about the part. Yeah, anything that takes pressure off line learning is a benefit. So yeah, I learn lines before, and it's a massive help, because it means that from day one you're able to bounce off one another. And I urge all actors to do that if possible. And the same with. I'm doing a thing at the moment, and it's a really tricky part, and it's based on a true story. So this bloke is real, and there's a responsibility that comes with that as well. And so I had about 4 or 5 weeks to prepare for it, and it was difficult, because you're aware that you're aware that this man might be watching, and you don't want to. Although I never spoke to him, you don't want to be doing him a disservice, because he's a very honourable person, and but at the same time you're aware that what is written is shows faults in his character, and so you have to honour that. You have to honour the script, and you have to just he did bad things, and despite being honourable, he did bad things, and you just have to sort of get in touch with the human being in all of that. Why. So there's a lot of thinking. Well, that's what I'm trying to say. There's a lot of thinking involved in that build up to sort of the first day on set, just sort of trying to figure out why those decisions were made, and what pressures he was under. But it's a fantastic opportunity, actually.
So do you adapt your? I mean, I know the method for theatre and the method for television is very different. The way it's shot, you're telling a linear story in theatre, and you're.
It's a completely different set of skills required. When you're on stage, it's your responsibility to be heard. It's your responsibility to be in the right costume. It's your responsibility. That's it. You go on stage, and you're exposed to 800 people or whatever, and as you say, you're telling the story from A to Z, and that's it. And on a film set, it's completely different. You're doing a short scene, perhaps, or you're doing a very intense scene, but there are hundreds of people around, some of which you've no idea what they're doing, but they all have responsibilities, and you're trying to focus, but at the same time, people are fiddling around with costumes and fiddling around with microphones, and you've got to sort of remember that in a couple of minutes when the first says action, then you're ready. So it's a completely different set of skills required. You don't have to be responsible for being heard or being seen. There are departments for that.
Are you aware of the different moments of a camera? Because I know some actors will ask what lens they're on to know how their performance should be.
I am aware of that. I'm aware that other actors do that, but it's not something that I'm particularly interested.
The wide they can relax a bit more, and the close up is
maybe. Maybe. I just kind of try and. I mean, sometimes a DOP or a camera operator will say, it's to here or it's to here or whatever, and that's sometimes helpful. But I try not to get too involved with the technical side of it. I just sort of try and stay in my zone, really, and just sort of do it again and again and again.
How much do you collaborate with the fellow actors outside of the rehearsals in the roles? Is it a constant thing that, certainly with theatre, I suppose it is, but with the TV side of things and the film side of things, for those that don't know, there's less rehearsal, if any.
Sometimes no, yeah.
As an actor, I find that scary, like to approach somebody maybe that you've never worked with before, having had no rehearsal, meeting in a bustling environment, and also some sort of picking up on what you're talking about, difficult, scary, a character that's done bad things. How do you drop that and go and have your spaghetti bolognese at night? And just leave that intensity behind, or is it really difficult? That's a lot of questions, sorry.
It's not difficult at all, actually. Collaboration, I mean, you're right. I mean, when you're doing a stage play, it's very different because you get to rehearse for 4 or 5 weeks, and so it's all about sort of negotiating and talking to each other, and over a period of 4 or 5 weeks, your thinking and your performance is going to evolve enormously. You're not expected to turn up on day one to the performance. Everybody knows that it's going to evolve. There's going to be a lot of talking. There's going to be a lot of trying things out. And the thing I always say to students when I come here is that in a rehearsal space on stage for a stage play, well, even on a film set, when you're rehearsing, it's a safe space you're allowed to fail, in as much as you can, try wild things. and if you've got 5 weeks to rehearse something, you can do that. You can experiment and you can fail, but you can learn from the failure. And so so you've got time to adapt to what other actors are bringing to the stage, and it's sort of over a period of time it's going to evolve. And but when you're in front of a camera, you sometimes have to have your performance ready from day one, because as you say, there's no rehearsal, and you just got to be brave. Actually, I think that's something that I've learned over my career so far. You can't be timid as an actor. You've got to sort of go with your convictions, and but at the same time be prepared to be told that what you're doing is perhaps is wrong.
Can we go back to that, what you were doing before? Actually, we don't.
Yeah. But if you're working with good people, for a start, they'll recognise that you're trying something, and if it doesn't work, they'll say, yeah, as you said, let's go back and try something else. The best directors I know are, although they'll come in with an idea about how they want the scene to be, they'll also be aware that the actors are coming in with ideas as well, and they'll allow them to try something, and the best directors are flexible. I think that they'll come in with an idea about how the scene to go, but at the same time they'll realise actually the DOP or the actor has got a better idea, and so I'll go with what they come up with.
So every production comes with its own demands, I suppose. I think, what have been some of the most challenging or surprising moments of your career?
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
So, what do I mean? Is there anything that's happened unexpectedly that's taken you in a direction that, talking about changing direction, trying different things, is there something that's taken you in a different direction that surprised your performance or surprised the situation? Might not be explaining myself very well.
I think failure actually is important. I'm aware of when I've failed at something, and although at the time it's a painful thing to go through, in the end, it's a good thing, in as much as you learn. If you're wise enough, you can think, well, why did I fail? Is it because I wasn't listening to other people? Is it because I wasn't open to other people's ideas? Was I trying too hard? It doesn't happen very often, if I'm honest, but when it does happen, failure, it can be, as I say, a gruesome experience. But if you're wise enough, you learn from it, and so that's been a surprise to me. I did a play at the RSC, and I was terrible in it, and the critics let me know that I was terrible in it, and but I was stuck with it for 2 years. And so I had to decide what I was going to do. I had the option of pulling out, but I thought, no, I'm going to, well, for a start, I couldn't afford to pull out, but also I want to make this better. And so I had a sort of a good talk with myself and decided, well, why am I not good in this? And so that thing about evolving a performance over a period of time came in really useful then, because it got better.
Did you invite them back, the critics?
We took it to America actually, and they were kind with us, so that was fine. Yeah, so it was a happy ending, but it was quite stark when you when you do, I mean, we're all going to do it. It's but it's not pleasant. But
Nope.
it's how you react to it, how you respond to it.
We're here in the John Leggett Sixth Form College, which is where you attended in Scunthorpe. Starting out in Lincolnshire, did you feel a career in acting was possible?
No. As I said earlier, I was sort of 17, 18 years old when I was here, and I didn't have a clue as to what I was going to do. And some teachers were very kind and supportive. I mean, none of this was here. We didn't have sort of facilities like, theatres, and we did plays in the dining hall, and the geography teacher sort of did the lights, and the English teacher directed the plays, and all in their own time. They weren't getting paid for it. I still find that remarkable, actually, that they were prepared to they'd worked all day and they would do more. And a teacher spotted something in me and said, you should, like your friends, you should maybe sort of apply for drama school, and I'll help choose some audition pieces and guide you. And without that, as I said earlier, I don't know where I'd be now. So I made a point of getting in touch with that teacher a few years back, and just to say,
they remember you.
Oh yeah. And they followed me, and just to say what a life-changing experience that was, to sort of be with them and work with them. And it was, and yeah, he changed his work. His work changed my life. So I don't know what I would have done. No idea. Yeah.
How does it feel to be back in that site now, coming back with the career that you've had?
It's lovely, actually, because it means that I can come back and offer to students here what that teacher offered me. So I just try and sort of, answer questions and sort of explain to them, the next steps, and help them with audition speeches and things like that. So,
and I love buildings, so I'm sure it was very different to what it is now. Arriving here, I was like, wow, this is an incredible modern building.
Yeah.
What was it like when you were here?
Well, half of it wasn't here, actually. It was a very sort of, it was a 1960s building. There was no focus on the arts or anything like that. I mean, here now we've got, as I say, we've got a theatre. There are dance studios, there are podcast studios. I mean, it's extraordinary. And there's a whole department dedicated to drama, and dedicated to dance, and dedicated to music. And, that just sort of, it just means that students who come here have so much more possibility. It's wonderful.
And you're working with the students later today. What's important to you in terms of inspiring the next generation, and specifically actors from Lincolnshire, or aspiring actors from the county?
Well, as I said earlier, I'm aware that if they want to take the next step, that it's a big step, and more than likely they'll have to travel quite a long way to go to London drama schools or Glasgow or Bristol. But there aren't places here in Lincolnshire that can offer that next step, really. And so... well,
that's what I'm hoping to change.
Yes.
Let's just delve into the students and sort of the future. What advice would you give to a student that's just starting out, especially those from Lincolnshire who might be unsure whether a career in acting is possible, and is it the only way to go to a drama school?
It's not the only way to go. I mean, there are universities who offer courses. The thing about drama schools is that they're all-encompassing. From day one, you're training to be an actor. up until the last day where they throw you out into the world. They're supporting you. They're bringing people in. They're bringing in professionals in, directors, casting people, to give you advice. They're giving you the best opportunity to go out into the world and be successful. And universities can't really do that. And it's a shame, because it's, although there are places around the country who can offer it's still a very London-centric experience for young actors. They've got to be in a big city. They've got to be in London or Glasgow or Bristol,
or Cardiff,
Yes.
And I suppose Liverpool. It's got Lipa.
Yeah.
But yeah, they are in the bigger cities. Lincoln, I don't think, has one.
I don't think the business is as London-centric as it used to be, because I think there are more creatives, directors, producers, writers who insist on stuff being filmed. Like Jimmy McGovern, for instance, he insists on stuff being filmed in and around Liverpool, and Sally does all her stuff up in Yorkshire. So the world is slowly changing, but it's for young actors, as I was saying earlier, in order to establish a network, it's still important to spend some time in one of the big cities, just to sort of create that network.
And I would hope any young actor watching, there is access, if it's a financial thing. I can't afford to go.
Yeah.
There certainly is access to funding and bursaries now. With my work with the National Youth Theatre, there is bursary access for regional performers. I do think you're right. I think I was a stage manager, so I went to drama school and studied stage management, and that was my intense theatre business experience. It's exactly the same. From the moment you're there, you're putting on shows.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't doing essays. I did have to do some essays because it was a BA, but it was that we were very much performing from the moment we stepped into the college on day one.
Yeah.
And working with actors and how to work with actors and how to create an ensemble of creatives to put on a show. And I do think that experience in whether it be an MA after being to university. So there is you don't have to do a 3-year course at drama school. There are MA 1-year intensive. So if it is actually an access to an MA that you need through university, there are definitely ways financially to do it without the major debts, and there are bursaries. I think
there's still a massive hurdle, though, isn't it?
It is. I think higher education is, but that's another thing. But
so I'm aware here that when I talk to students that they're very tentative about sort of moving too far away from home.
Because it's expensive.
Because it's expensive.
So yeah, tomorrow one of the events is happening, and we've been speaking to Lisa George, who was in Coronation Street for many years, and Lee Waddingham from Grimsby, and they've set up Acting Links, which is a community business to give access for actors in the region to find their pathway to work, whether it be amateur, which they call hobbyists, finding a way to professionalism. And I suppose Lincolnshire's a massive county. There's lots of different...
It's the second biggest.
It is the second biggest county, yes. It's... and lots of different accents around the county.
Right.
But that it's never been a drama that has an authentic Lincolnshire accent.
Right.
Neither on the BBC or ITV.
Okay.
So it's quite from a Lincolnshire yellow belly, which it's... I find it astounding that when people go, "Oh, where are you from? Are you Norfolk or are you?" And it's an accent that isn't necessarily obvious.
Yeah.
I think both of us have lost our original accent now. Yeah. But Lincolnshire on screen, would you like to see more of it?
Yeah, I would. Yeah. I mean, as you said, it offers such a range of visual landscapes. You've got the coast, you've got the wolds. I mean, how far down does it go? It goes to...
all the way down to kind of Stamford and down on the edge of, to the Wash, to the edge of King's Lynn. Yeah, so King's Lynn.
And then inland to Stamford and...
Yes, so it's inland to Stamford, up through Newark. So I think
And up to the Humber.
And up to the Humber, yeah. So just to Gainsborough and just below Doncaster.
Okay.
So it's a massive county.
Yeah.
So when people are considering production in the county, I'm trying to change the stigma of it's miles away. It's the middle of nowhere, which absolutely isn't. It's longer to get to Manchester than it is to Lincoln.
Yes.
And then Lincoln's right in the centre of the county, and you can be anywhere within 45 minutes in every direction of the county. So it's...
So what experience does Lincolnshire have with filming?
Well, you'd be surprised. I think there's a hell of a lot of films that have come into a lot of the big films come in and bring their infrastructure in and go out. But we've built a community of crew, of location databases, of support that more and more people are coming in and certainly inquiring. And it's getting rid of the myth that, that we don't have the infrastructure. And to be honest, in the north of the county, we're only 30 minutes from Leeds as well, which is...
When you say infrastructure, what do you mean by that?
I'm talking about Winnebagos, Bowsers.
Okay.
You know, the practicalities of a unit coming into the county.
Right.
Which I've had, when I started working with the council, I had to explain what a honey wagon was.
Right.
So, which obviously, for people that don't know, is the toilets, essentially, that comes onto the unit. So, which exist in the county because there's plenty of vents that need the toilets.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't believe we're talking about toilets, but it is that infrastructure of filmmaking that hundreds of people, which a crew can be 200 people, descend upon on a place, and they spend money. They take locations, they take unit bases, which is where all the trucks get parked, the power, the waters that's needed, the hotels that are taken, the food that is needed. There's an amount of money that's spent, and from an economic point of view for the county, there's a thing called set jetting. So after someone has filmed in a town for something like Downton, I'm sure Downton has got it. I'm sure that the houses that you filmed will have tourists go, I want to go there because that's where Downton filmed. I would love for us to get a returnable series like Downton, or a Broadchurch on the East Coast that really showcases the landscapes of the county, but also pulls people in to do more on film, but also to bring more people into the county from a visitor economy point of view.
And is there the infrastructure in places like Lincoln and the smaller towns to support?
Absolutely. If you think your major actors, if you were being brought into Lincolnshire, there's fabulous places like Woodall Spa and Louth and Lincoln itself that you can put people up in. It's not the middle of nowhere. But yeah, the infrastructure, even though you're remote, the support is regional. You know, I know what it takes to put a unit into a unit base. Everything's here. You don't need to worry about having that support.
Okay.
I feel like I'm being interviewed now, Kevin. We flipped it.
I remember, I think my third job out of drama school was with a theatre company called Great Eastern Stage, and they were based entirely in Lincolnshire. I think their base was Lincoln, and so I remember we did we toured around Lincolnshire, a Man for All Seasons. And it was great, you know. So we went to places like Stamford, and Lincoln, and various, and Scunthorpe. Actually, I played my hometown, and but that company doesn't exist anymore. It kind of I don't know why, but it's a terrible shame because it was really well supported, and yeah.
There are still some brilliant theatre companies in the county. There's the Asylum Players in Lincoln.
Okay.
Also, Jim Broadbent's family formed they were part of the Little Theatre Guild. Yeah. And there's the Broadbent Theatre, which isn't named after him, it's actually named after his parents who formed the theatre. And there is a community, and that's what Acting Links is doing, is getting that community together to be able to speak to each other. And Louth has a fantastic theatre. I think the opportunities are there, and as more filming comes in, we want to make sure people who are interested are signing up to be supporting artists or extras, and get that taste of filming on set. And also the professionals that are in the region. I would love there to be more commissions on television and films made within the region with authentic contemporary stories. Not necessarily contemporary, actually, any story, but with authentic Lincolnshire stories.
I suppose also you need to have Lincolnshire writers.
Yes. I always talk about Megan with people. I don't know whether I've talked about it on the podcast. So my one of the first events, Megan Harding is a young writer from Cleethorpes, and she lives and works in London, works for a publicist, but she was like, there was no point in me staying in Cleethorpes because the work isn't there and I can't work. But since the first event and the networking that she's done we've had 4 events, well, this will be our 4th event tomorrow. Thomas Turgoose, who's one of our ambassadors as well, has boarded her short film as an exec producer, and they finished filming in January, and they're using that short film as a proof of concept to do her first film. So she's a writer-director. But there are multiple writers that I'm aware of, and directors, including Philippa Lowthorpe and Farron Blackburn. There are ambassadors that are successful writers, but there's a whole wave of young storytellers that are coming through, that need to be heard and helped onto the platform of being able to get their work made.
Yeah. And encouraged to write about Lincolnshire.
Yes.
Rather than it being some kind of generic.
Yes. Yeah. And like we were saying about authentic stories and authentic performers, not necessarily my films, but somebody coming in and making a film, an authentic Lincolnshire story, cast locally, supported with all local crew, which is what Megan, with her first short film, it was all local crew. It was all people that she'd met through the networking, finance. They found a brilliant young actor who's 13 through open casting in Grimsby and Cleethorpes. And then Thomas, through his experiences in This Is England, is mentoring that young actor. Okay. So it's about everyone coming together in the creative industries, whether it be film, TV, theatre, and being able to really shout loud about Lincolnshire being loud and proud. And I think we're naturally introvert county, whereas actually it's time to put ourselves on screen and creatives be respected within the county. Here's me being interviewed. I don't like it. I'm going to go back to my list, Kevin, and we're going to move on. What still excites you about acting after all these years in the industry now?
The fact that I've no idea what's going to happen next, and it's always different. That's the great thing about being an actor. Sort of going into other people's footsteps, putting other people's shoes on, experiencing other people's lives, being able to sort of play a comedy role one week and play something completely different the next. And I hope that continues. But that's the joy, actually. That really is a joy. No idea what's going to come next. So when I got this email from this director who I worked with before saying, I've got this part for you, and just read it, and this is fantastic, completely unexpected and something that I've never played before. It's just brilliant. It's wonderful.
And is there anything you can tell us about what it is, or is it's under wraps currently?
I would tell you, but there's a... Well, no, I can tell you. It's about the Iranian embassy siege in 1980. Wow. And we were supposed to be, a couple of weeks ago, we were meant to be filming outside the Iranian embassy, but world events sort of scuppered that. So the police said that we can't do it anymore. So they've got to find a new location. So
have you looked in Lincolnshire for that new location?
I don't think there's anything quite resembling. Yeah. So
You never know. You never know. Are there any roles or genres or something that you would like to do that you haven't done?
No, I don't really think like that. just sort of see what happens next.
What comes?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the fortunate position of being able to say, actually, I don't really want to do that. So I can kind of, it's nice to be able to sort of be able to pick and choose a little bit. So I just I go with writers and directors that I trust. Yeah.
Yeah. And how would you like people to feel having heard your story today?
Ooh. That anything is possible, I suppose. You know, as a 18-year-old kid, I was kind of lost, and I'm feeling a bit helpless, and a bit bleak actually, and so I was. I didn't know how I was going to see my way through, but you know, thanks to guiding hands here and with good friends, things changed. So yeah, I mean, anything is possible. I didn't think for a moment that I couldn't envision my life as it is now. All those years ago. So yeah, anything's possible. There's no reason why the students here can't have a career in the creatives just as I have. Yeah, why not? Why not?
And it just makes me think, are you still in touch with those friends that were actors with you at the college?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
That's fab. Any of them still acting?
No.
Just
no. No, they're all
acting up, maybe,
yeah.
but not. So finally, if a production was to come to Lincolnshire or was considering coming to Lincolnshire, what would you say to them, not just about locations, but the creative talent and the spirit of the county?
Well, it's, I mean, I'd jump at it. It's, as you've said, it's a kind of, it's an underused place with a lot of potential. And it's got everything that you could want. It's got beautiful scenery. It's got welcoming people. It's got extraordinary locations. Yeah. I mean, I think they should jump at the chance.
Thank you, Kevin. We really appreciate you coming and joining us and having a chat today.
You're welcome.
Thank you. This podcast was created by Keel Productions in partnership with the School of Creative Arts at the University of Lincoln and brought to you by our headline sponsor, Associated British Ports.